Good afternoon, everyone. We are group number 5, and today we're going to present level 4, Characterizing, which is the highest level of Cradwell's affective domain. So before we explain this level, it is important to briefly understand what the affective domain is. And the affective domain focuses on a student's emotions, attitudes, values, motivation, and also social development, unlike the cognitive domain, which is related to knowledge and thinking skills. So the affective domain explains how students develop positive attitudes and also values the influence the influence their behavior and learning. And according to Cradwell's Bloom and Messias in 1964, the affective domain is divided into 5 levels, which is receiving, responding, valuing, organizing, and characterizing. So today we will explain that what characterizing means, how it is applied in English in teaching English to young learners, and we will present a realistic classroom case to demonstrate this level. So now my partner will explain our assignment level in more details.
What is characterizing? Characterizing is the highest level of the affective domain. These traits values are no longer temporary or practiced only during specific activities, and instead they become a permanent part of a person's characters and guide their behavior in different situations. And students consistently demonstrate positive values because they truly believe in them, and not because the teacher remains them or offers a reward. And some characteristics of these levels include responsibility, respect, empathy, cooperation, honesty, self-discipline, and kindness. These behaviors become natural habits that the students show every day. For your young English learners, this level is specifically important because learning language also involves developing confidence, respect for others, and the ability to communicate in a positive learning environment. And organizing versus characterizing. And this also is important to understand the difference between organizations and characterizations. Uh, because at the organizations levels, students begin to compare different values, prioritize themes, and create their own value systems. However, these values are still developing, and in contrast, at the characterizations levels, these values have already become part of the student's personality. Their behavior is consistent in different situations, even when the teacher is not observing them. For example, the students have always greet classmates politely, helps others voluntarily, and respects classroom rules without remains demonstrates characteristics because these behaviors have become part of how they are. So now let's see how this level can be observed in a real English class. My parent will explain our classroom case.
Now, I explained the classroom case. So imagine the fourth grade English class with the 20 students between the 9 and 10 years old. Their English level is a A1. And because they are learning remotely, the lesson takes place through Zoom. So the objective of the lesson is a student will use simpler English expression to talk about the kindness and helping others and showing respect in everyday situation. Here, the teacher begins the class by greeting everyone in English. So the between begin remind the student respond politely, mute their microphones, and when others are speaking, and use the raise hand button before they participate. So this behavior has become normal classroom routine because students understand their importance and have internalized this values. Now, the activities and student behavior. So, the teacher share a short story, colleague, a hobby, or friends after reading the story together. So the student work and soon break out rooms to create a digital poster using Google Slides. So they write a simple sentence such: we help our friends, we respect everyone, we are kind. During the activity, one student suddenly loses the internet connection without waiting for the teacher. Another student sends the instruction through the Zoom chat. And while another classmate explain what the group has already completed. Later, a student has difficult pronunciation the word respect inside out loud. The group patiently repeats the pronunciation together and encourage the classmate by saying, great job, you can do it, no worry, we'll help you. So the teacher noticed that students naturally support one another without expecting rewards or prize. So now my partner will explain why this classroom situation represent characteristic.
This classroom case clearly represents the characterizing level because the students consistently demonstrate positive values during the entire lesson. They respect classroom rules without being reminded and also help classmates voluntarily, encourage others when they make mistakes, and work together with kindness and responsibility. These behaviors are not isolated actions because instead they have become part of the student's personality and are reflected naturally in everything they do. This is exactly what characterizing means. Values that have been fully internalized and consistently guide a person's behavior. Now, why is this characterizing and not another level? It is important to understand why this classroom situation represents characterizing instead of another level of the affective domain. If this were the value level, students will show that they appreciate values such as respect and cooperation, but they might only demonstrate them in certain situations or when they receive encouragement. If this were the organizing level, students would be comparing different values and deciding which ones are the most important in their lives. However, in our classroom case, students no longer need reminders or rewards. They naturally demonstrate empathy, responsibility, respect, and cooperation because these values have become part of who they are. So for this reason, this classroom situation represents characterizing, which is the highest level of the affective domain.
So finally, we would like to reflect on the importance of this level in teaching English to young learners. So the first question is why is characterizing essential for successful English learning in children? So I think that characterizing is essential because it helps children to develop positive values that become a part of their daily life. When students are respectful, responsible, um, empathetic, and cooperative, so I feel like they feel more confident to participate and also to communicate in English. So as a result, the classroom becomes a safe and a more supportive environment where where meaningful learning can take place. So in our classroom case, students encourage a classmate who had difficulty in pronouncing a word instead uh, of laughing at him. So I feel like this create a positive atmosphere where everyone feel comfortable using English?
Well, second question, which teaching strategies can promote these levels in a TEYL classroom? And teachers can promote the characterizing by modeling positive behavior, establishing clear classroom routines, and encouraging teamwork, using cooperative learning activities, and recognizing respectful actions. Uh, Activities such as role-playing, collaborative projects, peer works, and reflective discussions also help students develop these values over time.
And so finally, what difficulties might arise if teachers neglect this aspect of the affective domain? So I feel like if teachers ignore the affective domain, students may lose motivation and also they became more afraid of making mistakes and they can participate less in English lessons. So the classroom environment may become less respectful and less cooperative, and that will make language learning more difficult. So even if a students learn grammar and vocabulary, they may not develop the confidence and social skills needed to communicate effectively.
Now, the final conclusion is the characteristic is the highest level of the affective domain because it reflects values that have become part of child personality and guide their everyday behavior. So, as future English teacher, we believe that teaching children is not only about help them learn vocabulary and grammar. It's also about they help them become respectful, they're responsible, empathetic, or confident individuals. So when we create the positive learning environment, students not only improve their English skills, but also develop values that will benefit them throughout their life. So that's it. Thank you very much for your attention.
Thank you.